The plate left his hand, and for a moment, time stopped. Dorothy Bennett watched it come toward her face. The pasta, the sauce, the ceramic, all of it flying through the air, in front of 50 people who were doing nothing, just watching. She didn't move, didn't duck, didn't cry out. She just stood there, 76 years old, wearing the same dress she'd worn to her husband's funeral 8 years ago, because it was the only nice dress she had left. And now it was about to be ruined by a stranger's rage. The plate was an inch from her face when a hand caught it, mid-air. The room gasped. A man in a black suit stood there, holding the plate, his hand shaking slightly, not from the weight, from fury. "That's enough," he said. His voice was quiet, but every person in that restaurant heard it, and something in that voice made Dorothy look up, really look, at the man who'd just saved her, and her heart stopped. Because she knew that face. She knew those eyes. She'd seen them before, 32 years ago, when they belonged to a scared, starving boy. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me tell you how we got here, and I promise you, by the end of this story, you'll never look at kindness the same way again. Dorothy Bennett woke up that morning and cried. October 12th, her wedding anniversary. 54 years since she married Thomas Bennett in a small church with 12 people in attendance. They couldn't afford a big wedding, but Thomas had looked at her like she was the only person in the world. 54 years, Dorothy whispered to the empty bedroom, the same bedroom where Thomas had died, where she'd held his hand and felt it go cold, where she'd screamed until her throat bled. That was 8 years ago, but some mornings it felt like yesterday. She got dressed slowly. Her hands shook a little now, arthritis. She pulled out the dress, navy blue, simple, 20 years old, the same one she'd worn to Thomas's funeral, the same one she'd worn to their last anniversary dinner together, before he got sick, before they lost everything. It didn't fit quite right anymore. She'd lost weight, not from trying, from not having enough, but it was clean. She'd made sure of that. Dorothy looked at herself in the mirror. An old woman stared back. When did that happen? When did she become this person? She opened her purse, counted the money inside. 2 $20 bills, 6 weeks of saving, skipping meals, walking instead of taking the bus, turning off the heat at night. $40 for today, for this. She'd made a decision. Today, she was going back to the place where she'd been happy, even though it didn't exist anymore. Dorothy took the bus downtown. 45 minutes. She watched the city pass by the window. So much had changed. Buildings she didn't recognize, stores that used to be something else. The world had moved on without her. The bus stopped at 5th and Main. Dorothy got off, and there it was, Allegra, the most expensive restaurant in the city. Glass and steel and luxury, valet parking, people in $1,000 suits walking in and out. Nothing like what used to be here. Nothing like Bennett's Bakery. Dorothy stood on the sidewalk, staring. A woman in a fur coat brushed past her, didn't even look. Dorothy was invisible. She'd gotten used to that, but today hurt more than usual, because 30 years ago she owned this corner, this exact spot. She closed her eyes, and she could smell it. Fresh bread, sourdough, the way it filled the whole block at 5 a.m. when they opened the ovens. She could hear it, Thomas's laugh, deep and warm, the sound of the door chime when customers came in, the hiss of the espresso machine they'd saved 2 years to buy. She could see it, the small storefront, Bennett's Bakery in gold letters, the display case with fresh pastries, the table by the window where old Mr. Chen sat every morning, the kitchen where she and Thomas worked side by side for 25 years, every single day, building something, together. Gone. All of it. Gone. Dorothy opened her eyes. The smell was different now. Expensive perfume, car exhaust, money. She walked to the door. A young man in a valet uniform opened it, looked at her dress. His smile faltered, just for a second, but Dorothy saw it. She always saw it. Inside, the restaurant was beautiful. Crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than her entire bakery had been worth. White marble floors, tables set with flowers and candles, piano music, soft, elegant, nothing like the old bakery, where they played the radio, where Thomas would dance with her between customers, where everything was simple and warm and theirs. The hostess approached, young, maybe 25, beautiful. Her name tag said Amanda. "Good afternoon," Amanda said. Her voice was professional, but her eyes did the same thing, the quick scan. Old dress, no jewelry, alone, no reservation. Dorothy saw the calculation. "I'd like a table," Dorothy said quietly. "Do you have a reservation?" "No, I'm sorry." Amanda glanced back at the dining room. Tuesday afternoon, half empty. But there were rules, standards. "Let me check with the manager," Amanda said. She walked away. Dorothy waited. She could leave. She should leave. This was a mistake. But her feet wouldn't move, because this was where Thomas had proposed, right here. Well, not here exactly, but in the kitchen, where the ovens used to be. He'd gotten down on one knee, flour on his apron, dough under his nails, and he'd said, "Dorothy, I don't have much, but I'll spend every day of my life making you happy." He did, for 46 years, until the building was sold, until they couldn't afford the new rent, until they lost everything, until his heart broke, literally. The heart attack came 6 months after they closed. The doctors said it was genetic, but Dorothy knew better. Thomas died of a heartbreak. Amanda returned, with a forced smile. "We can seat you, but I should mention our minimum is $35 per person." Dorothy's stomach dropped. $35. She had 40, which meant $5 for the bus home and nothing left. But she'd come this far. "That's fine," Dorothy said. Amanda led her through the dining room, past the beautiful tables, past the well-dressed diners, past the windows with the view, all the way to the back, next to the kitchen, the worst table in the restaurant, where the noise was loudest, where the traffic was constant, where they put people they didn't want to be seen. "Your server will be right with you," Amanda said, and left. Dorothy sat down and looked around. This was where the ovens had been. She'd stood right here, thousands of times, pulling out bread, her face hot from the heat. Thomas beside her, always beside her. A waiter appeared. Jason, young, professional. He handed her a menu without making eye contact. Dorothy opened it, and her hands started shaking. Appetizers, $28, $32, $35. Her eyes scanned desperately. Please, please let there be something. There, at the bottom, soup of the day, $18. With tax and tip, she'd have just enough. Barely. "I'll have the soup, please," Dorothy said. Jason's eyes flicked up. "Just soup?" he asked. "Just the soup?" he asked. Dorothy felt her face flush. "Yes, please." He nodded and walked away. Dorothy sat alone at the worst table in the restaurant that used to be hers, on her wedding anniversary, ordering soup because it was all she could afford. She wanted to cry, but she'd learned not to, not in public, not anymore. 3 tables away, Richard Carlson was holding court. Richard was everything Dorothy wasn't. Rich, confident, loud, self-made, he liked to tell people. Though really, his father had given him $2 million to start, but Richard had turned it into $10 million, and that's all that mattered. He was having lunch with 2 business partners, a bottle of wine that cost $400, 3 courses each, discussing a real estate deal, and he noticed Dorothy, sitting alone, in that outdated dress,
ordering just soup. It offended him. He didn't know why, but it did. Maybe because it reminded him of his mother, who died poor, who'd never gotten to see his success, who'd made him promise to be better than her, to never be weak, to never be poor. Whatever the reason, Richard hated looking at Dorothy. "Look at that," he said to his companions, loud enough to be heard. "This is supposed to be Allegra, 5-star dining, and they're seating homeless people now?" His friends shifted uncomfortably. "Richard, come on," one of them said quietly. "I'm serious. Look at her. That dress is from Goodwill. She probably walked in off the street." Dorothy heard every word, but she didn't turn around, just waited for her soup. When it arrived, she stared at it. $18 for soup. She used to make soup
For $2. And it was better than this. But she lifted the spoon and ate, slowly, making it last. Because this was all she'd have. This moment, in this place, where she used to be someone, where she used to matter. Richard watched her and got more irritated. 20 minutes, he announced. She's been sitting there for 20 minutes with a bowl of soup, taking up a table. This is ridiculous. Dorothy's hand trembled. She reached for a water glass to steady herself, and her elbow bumped the table. The glass tipped. Water spilled across the white tablecloth. Not much, maybe a cup, but it spread, like her shame. "Oh no," Dorothy whispered. She grabbed her napkin, tried to soak it up. "I'm sorry," she said to no one. "I'm so sorry." And that's when Richard snapped. He stood up, loud enough that the whole restaurant heard the chairs scrape. "Are you kidding me?" he shouted. Everyone turned. 50 people, all looking at Dorothy. Richard marched over to her table, stood over her. "You can't even sit at a table without making a mess? You spill water like a child?" Dorothy looked up at him, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'll clean it up." "You're sorry? You're sorry?" Richard's face was red. "You don't belong here. Do you understand that? This is a restaurant for people with class, with money, with standards." He gestured at her dress. "Look at you. You probably saved for a month just to afford that soup. And now you're taking up space, making a mess, embarrassing everyone here." Dorothy stood up, her legs shaking. "I'll go," she said. "I'm sorry. I'll go." She reached into a purse, pulled out her 2 $20 bills, all the money she had in the world, and placed them on the wet tablecloth. "For the soup," she whispered. "And I'm sorry about the water." She turned to leave, and Richard, in a moment of pure, inexplicable cruelty, picked up his plate, still half full of pasta carbonara, $48 worth of food that he'd barely touched, and threw it at a 76-year-old woman in front of 50 witnesses. Time slowed. Dorothy saw it coming, the plate spinning through the air, the pasta unwinding like ribbons, the sauce splattering, all of it heading for her face. She didn't move, didn't scream, just closed her eyes and thought, "This is what I deserve, for being poor, for being old, for being invisible, for still being alive when Thomas is dead. This is what I deserve." The plate was an inch from her face when it stopped. Dorothy opened her eyes. A hand held the plate, suspended in midair, sauce dripping onto the marble floor, pasta hanging over the edge. Caught, she looked at the hand, followed it up the arm, to the face. A man, maybe 45, black suit, dark hair, and eyes that were burning with controlled fury. He looked at the plate in his hand, then at Richard, then at Dorothy, and something in his expression changed, softened, like he recognized something. "That's enough," he said quietly. The entire restaurant was silent, frozen. Richard recovered first. "Do you know who I am?" he demanded. The man set the plate down, carefully, on Dorothy's table. "I know exactly who you are," the man said. His voice was still quiet, but there was something underneath it, something dangerous. "You're Richard Carlson, real estate developer. You've spent $47,000 at this restaurant in the past year. You're a platinum member. You have reservations every Tuesday. Richard smiled. Exactly. So maybe you should. And you just threw food at a guest in my restaurant. Richard's smile faded. Your restaurant? I'm Daniel Foster. I own Allegra, and you're no longer welcome here. The room erupted in whispers. Richard's face went purple. You can't be serious. Do you know how much money I spend here? I don't care. I'll sue you. Go ahead. I'll destroy your reputation. You just threw a plate at an elderly woman in front of 50 witnesses. I think your reputation is going to be just fine. Daniel gestured to two men in suits. Security. Please, escort Mr. Carlson out. This is insane. She's nobody. She ordered soup. She doesn't belong here. Daniel stepped closer to Richard. His voice dropped even lower. She belongs here more than you ever will. Now get out. Security took Richard by the arms. He struggled, shouted, made threats, but they walked him to the door and pushed him out. The glass doors closed, cutting off his voice, and the restaurant was silent. Daniel turned to Dorothy, who was standing there, shaking, tears streaming down her face. Ma'am, Daniel said gently, I'm so sorry. Are you all right? Dorothy shook her head, tried to speak, couldn't. Jason, Daniel called, get her a chair and water, please. He looked around at the other diners, who were all staring. Show's over, he said. Please, enjoy your meals. Slowly, people turned back to their tables, but they kept glancing over. Daniel pulled up a chair, sat down across from Dorothy, at the worst table in the restaurant, where his guests never sat. I'm Daniel Foster, he said gently. I own this restaurant, and I'm deeply sorry for what just happened to you. Dorothy wiped her eyes with a napkin. It's not your fault, she whispered. It is. It happened in my restaurant. He paused. Can I ask, why did you come here today? Dorothy looked down at her hands. Old hands, spotted with age. The same hands that used to knead bread, that used to wear a wedding ring. She had to sell it. 3 years ago, to pay rent. I'm sorry, she said. My husband and I, we would have been married 54 years today. Her voice broke. He passed away 8 years ago. Daniel listened, really listened. Not like most people did, not with that polite but distant expression, but like he actually cared. I'm sorry, he said. That must be very hard. Dorothy nodded. I usually just stay home on our anniversary. But this year, she looked around the restaurant. This year, I wanted to come here, to this place. Why here? Dorothy took a shaky breath. Because this used to be ours. This building, this exact spot. My husband and I, we owned a bakery here for 25 years. Daniel went very still. A bakery, he repeated. Bennett's Bakery. That was us, Dorothy and Thomas Bennett. She smiled sadly. We made bread every morning at 4 a.m. We'd open the ovens, and the whole street would smell like fresh sourdough. Her voice grew softer. We made wedding cakes, pastries. We knew everyone in the neighborhood. Mr. Chan, who came every morning for coffee. The Torres family, who ordered birthday cakes. Maria from the bookstore, who always wanted the end pieces of bread because they were crunchier. She looked at Daniel. It was small. We never made much money, but it was ours, and we were happy. What happened? Daniel asked gently. Dorothy's face crumbled. The building was sold 12 years ago. New owner, new rent, triple what we were paying. She wiped her eyes. We tried to make it work, took out loans, worked longer hours, but we couldn't keep up. Her voice broke. We had to close. After 25 years, we had to walk away. She looked down. Thomas never recovered. The bakery was his whole life, his dream. When we lost it, she couldn't continue. Daniel waited. He had a heart attack 6 months later. The doctor said it was heart disease, but I knew. I knew it was from losing the bakery, from losing everything we'd built. Dorothy was crying now, really crying. But he was everything. He was my whole world. And now, he's gone. And the bakery's gone. And She looked around the restaurant. I just wanted to sit here one more time, where we were happy. Even though it's not ours anymore. Even though it's something else now. She looked at Daniel with devastated eyes. I just wanted to remember. By the way, where are you watching this from? I read every comment. Drop your city below. I want to know where this story is reaching. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. His hands were clasped on the table, tight, like he was holding on to something. Then he said, "What was your husband's name?" Thomas. Thomas Bennett. Daniel's eyes closed, just for a second. When he opened them, they were wet. "Mrs. Bennett," he said slowly, "do you remember, maybe 32 years ago, a young man who used to come to your bakery?" Dorothy blinked. "We had many customers. He was 17, skinny, dirty, scared." Daniel's voice was shaking now. "He came in one morning, winter, January, so cold that the homeless people were dying on the streets." Dorothy's breath caught. He had no money. He hadn't eaten in 3 days. He was too proud to beg, but he was desperate. His voice dropped with desperation. "So he came into your bakery, and he asked if you had any old bread, anything you were throwing away, anything at all." Dorothy looked at him, really looked at him, not the way most people looked at him, not with disgust or pity or fear. A tear rolled down his cheek. "You looked at him with kindness." Dorothy was staring at him. "And you said," Daniel's voice broke, "you said, 'I don't have any old bread, but I have fresh bread, still warm. Sit down.'" Dorothy gasped. "You brought him bread, a whole loaf, fresh from the oven, with butter and soup, and you wouldn't let him pay." Daniel smiled through his tears. "And when he tried to leave, you said, 'Everyone deserves something warm on a cold day.'" Dorothy started crying. "He came back the next day," Daniel continued, "and you fed him again, and the next day, and the next." His voice was thick with emotion. "For 3 months he came every single day, and you never asked for money. You just fed him." He leaned forward. "And one day you asked him his name and what he wanted to do with his life." Dorothy's eyes were wide. "He said he didn't know, that he'd never been good at anything, that he was stupid, worthless." Daniel's voice hardened with old pain. "And you know what you said?" Dorothy shook her head. "You said, 'That's not true. Everyone is good at something. You just haven't found it yet.'" He smiled. "And then you offered him a job, washing dishes, cleaning, minimum wage, but it was a job, a real job." Dorothy's hand was over her mouth. She was sobbing. "You and Mr. Bennett taught him to bake, to make bread, to create something with his hands." Daniel's voice cracked. "You taught him that food isn't just about eating. It's about love, about bringing people together, about making someone's day better." He reached across and took her hands. "You paid for his culinary school tuition. Did you know that? You probably don't remember, but when he got accepted, you and Mr. Bennett gave him $1,200. You said it was a bonus, but he knew. He knew you'd saved that money, that you'd sacrificed for him." Dorothy was shaking her head, tears streaming. "Mrs. Bennett," Daniel said softly, "I'm that boy. I'm Danny." Dorothy's sob was so loud, people turned. "You saved my life," Daniel said. "You and Mr. Bennett, you saved me when I was dying, not just from hunger, from giving up, from believing I was worthless." He squeezed her hands. "Everything I am, everything I've built, every success I've had, started in your bakery." Dorothy couldn't speak, just cried. Daniel stood up, helped her to her feet, and hugged her. This 76-year-old woman who'd lost everything, and this 43-year-old man who owed her everything. They stood there, in the worst table in the restaurant, where the ovens used to be, and they cried. After a moment, Daniel pulled back, wiped his eyes. "I need to tell you something," he said. "When I heard Bennett's bakery was closing, I tried to find you. I went to the building, but you were already gone. No forwarding address." He looked devastated. "I searched for years, hired private investigators, checked records, but you disappeared." Dorothy's voice was small. "We moved, lost our house, had to rent a small apartment. Then Thomas got sick. Then he died. I moved again. I've moved 4 times in 8 years. Daniel nodded. "I kept looking, but I couldn't find you." He looked around the restaurant. "That's why I opened Allegra here, on this exact spot, because this is where my life changed, where I learned what really matters." He looked at Dorothy. "I chose this location to honor you, even though I couldn't find you, even though I thought I'd never see you again." Dorothy was staring at him. "And now you're here," Daniel said, "on your anniversary, at the place where you gave me everything." He shook his head in wonder. "Do you believe in fate, Mrs. Bennett?" Dorothy couldn't answer. Daniel took her hand. "Come with me, please." He led her through the restaurant. People were watching, whispering, some crying. They'd heard everything. He stopped at the entrance, at a wall, and pointed. There was a plaque, brass, beautiful. Dorothy stepped closer, read it. "Allegra, established 2018, built on the foundation of Bennett's Bakery, 1985 to 2010, in loving memory of Dorothy and Thomas Bennett, who taught us that kindness is the most important ingredient." Dorothy's legs gave out. Daniel caught her. "I put this up the day we opened," he said, "even though I didn't know where you were, even though I thought you'd never see it." He helped her to a chair, knelt before her. "Mrs. Bennett, I can't give you back your bakery. I can't bring back Mr. Bennett. I can't erase the years of struggle." His voice was fierce now. "But I can give you this. You have a table here, always, for the rest of your life, no charge, ever. This is your restaurant. It always was." Dorothy shook her head. "I can't accept. It's already done." Daniel stood, raised his voice. "Everyone, please, may I have your attention?" The restaurant went quiet. Daniel gestured to Dorothy. "This woman is Dorothy Bennett. 32 years ago, she saved my life. She fed me when I was starving, gave me a job when I had nothing, taught me that I mattered." His voice echoed through the space. "Everything you see here, this restaurant, this success, this food, exists because of her." He looked at the diners. "She lost her bakery, lost her husband, lost everything. And today, a man threw food at her, told her she didn't belong." Murmurs of anger rippled through the crowd. "I'm standing here to tell you she belongs here more than anyone. This is her place, built on her foundation, and she will always, always be welcome." The restaurant erupted in applause, standing ovation, 50 people on their feet, clapping for Dorothy, who sat there, overwhelmed, finally seen, finally valued, finally home. What time is it where you are? Morning? Middle of the night? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you. Over the next few months, everything changed. Dorothy came to Allegra every Tuesday afternoon, not to the back table, but to a table in the window where Mr. Chen used to sit. Daniel would join her. They'd talk for hours about Thomas, about bread recipes, about the old days, about the neighborhood that used to be. Slowly, Dorothy started to smile again. One Tuesday, Daniel asked her something. "Would you teach my pastry chef your sourdough recipe, the one you used to make?" Dorothy's eyes lit up. "I'd love to." She came in early the next morning, 4 a.m., like the old days. The kitchen staff was shocked to see her, this elderly woman in an apron, teaching their head pastry chef, Maria, 32 years old, trained in Paris, how to make bread. Dorothy's hands moved through the dough, muscle memory, 30 years of baking. "You have to feel it," she said to Maria. "Not just follow a recipe. The dough talks to you, tells you what it needs."
Maria watched in awe. When the bread came out of the oven, the smell filled the entire restaurant. Daniel walked in, stopped, closed his eyes. "That's it," he whispered. "That's exactly what it smelled like." He was crying. "I haven't smelled that in 32 years, but I knew it immediately." Dorothy smiled. They added it to the menu that week. Bennett sourdough, $12, made from the original recipe by Dorothy Bennett, founder of Bennett's Bakery. It sold out in 2 hours. People started coming specifically for it, calling ahead to reserve loaves. It became the most requested item in the restaurant. And every Tuesday, Dorothy would come in at 4 a.m. and make bread. Not for money, for joy, for memory, for Thomas. 6 months after the incident, Daniel threw an event. He invited everyone: Dorothy's family, her daughter, her grandchildren, friends she'd made at the restaurant, regular customers who knew her story, the press. The restaurant was packed. Daniel stood at the front, raised his glass. "When I opened Allegra, people asked me why I chose this location. It's not the best neighborhood, not the most visible spot, but I never told them the real reason." He looked at Dorothy. "I chose it because this is where I learned what hospitality means. Not expensive plates, not fancy wine, but seeing people, treating everyone with dignity, understanding that kindness matters more than money." He gestured to the staff. They wheeled out something large, covered in a cloth. "I want to show you something," Daniel said. He pulled off the cloth. It was a painting, 6 feet tall, of Bennett's Bakery as it looked in 1992. The old storefront, the gold letters, and in front, Dorothy and Thomas, young, smiling, arms around each other. Dorothy stood up, walked to the painting, touched Thomas's face. "He was so handsome," she whispered. "He was," Daniel said, standing beside her, "and he'd be so proud of you." Dorothy turned to him. "Do you really think so?" "I know so." Daniel addressed the crowd. "This painting will hang here forever, so that everyone who comes here knows this restaurant was built on love." The room erupted in applause. Dorothy stood in front of the painting, looking at her husband, looking at her younger self, looking at the life they'd built, the life they'd lost, but also looking at what remained.
The legacy, the kindness, the bread. Thomas would be proud. As for Richard Carlson, someone had filmed the whole thing. The plate throw, Daniel's intervention, the revelation. It went viral. 78 million views in 3 days. Richard's business partners saw it, his clients, his country club. Within a week, he'd lost 3 major deals. His reputation was destroyed, not by Daniel, by his own cruelty, captured forever, for everyone to see. He sent a letter to the restaurant. 3 months later, Daniel brought it to Dorothy. "It's from Richard Carlson. He wants to apologize in person." Dorothy was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Tell him I forgive him, but I don't need to see him." Daniel was surprised. "You forgive him after what he did?" Dorothy smiled sadly. "He threw a plate at me, but life threw much worse, and I survived." She looked at the painting of Thomas. Holding on to anger doesn't bring anyone back. It doesn't undo the past. It just makes the present heavier. She looked at Daniel. "Tell him I forgive him, and I hope he learns. That's all." Daniel sent the response. Richard never replied, but his assistant mentioned, quietly, that he'd started volunteering at a homeless shelter once a week, serving food. Maybe he did learn something. 2 years after the plate, Dorothy turned 78. Daniel insisted on celebrating at Allegra. Dorothy's family came, her daughter, her grandchildren, friends she'd made at the restaurant, regular customers who knew her story. The table was in the center of the dining room, not hidden in the back, center, where everyone could see. Daniel brought out a cake made by Dorothy's recipe with 78 candles. "Make a wish, Mrs. Bennett." Dorothy closed her eyes, and this time she didn't wish for Thomas, didn't wish for the bakery, didn't wish for the past. She wished for more of this. More Tuesday mornings making bread, more conversations with Daniel, more moments of belonging, more proof that she still mattered. She blew out the candles, everyone cheered, and Dorothy smiled, a real smile, the kind she hadn't smiled in 8 years, the kind that reached her eyes, the kind that said, "I'm still here, and that's enough." The lesson? You never know what your kindness will become. The bread you give to a hungry stranger might save their life. The job you offer might change their future. The moment you choose to see someone, really see them, might be the only moment they feel human that day. Dorothy Bennett lost everything: her bakery, her husband, her dignity. She lived in poverty, wore the same dress to a funeral and an anniversary, counted coins to afford soup, but she never lost the part of her that mattered most, her kindness. And 32 years later, that kindness came home in a restaurant built on the ashes of her old life by a boy she'd saved, who became a man who saved her back, not with money, but with something more valuable: being seen, being remembered, being told, "You mattered, you matter, you will always matter." If this story touched your heart, drop a heart in the comments. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Follow for more stories about the invisible people who change the world. And the next time you have a chance to help someone, even in a small way, do it. Give the bread, offer the job, see the person, because you never know. That person might be starving, might be hopeless, might be one act of kindness away from giving up entirely. And your small gesture, the one you'll forget about by tomorrow, might be the thing they remember for the rest of their life, the thing they build a future on, the thing that saves them. Dorothy gave bread to a homeless boy. He gave her back her legacy and proved that the most expensive restaurants are built on the cheapest ingredient: love. Remember that, and never underestimate the power of being kind, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching, because somewhere, 32 years from now, someone might remember, and that might change everything.